On a large scale, we need to transition into a collaborative society and into a peace society instead of a war-based economy. Get people to realize that we need to have a full 100%. So that means that we need to incorporate the 1%. We do not want a trench war between the 99% and the 1%, because the people that have the control and the wealth and the power, if we leave them out, we have to rebuild everything. These people have, a lot of them have a lot of good intentions, except they are blinded by the systemic flaws.
Exactly. So what we're talking about is a future where it was not systemically built on violence.
The problem is that people will always try to support and defend their existing operations and their existing abilities. Well, and if you are the military traditionally would be seen as a force of only protection and violence, right? We do not consider them in their secondary ability, the fact that they have this emergency state work that they also have a responsibility for.
As peacekeepers, you mean?
Not just peacekeepers, but keeper in the traditional sense that they are supposed to keep it peaceful, but that would then infringe a bit on the traditional role of the police. And the police is there to uphold the law, and the more we create ridiculous laws, it's going to be harder and harder for them to actually enforce them. And this is just a huge area, because all the systems that we have in play now, they need to shift from one mode of operation to another. And this is difficult because it's habitual thinking.
Exactly. But back in the day, you had both police and military institutions are outsourcing what was originally a civic responsibility, even though before we had private cities in most places. But it was people who had to keep the peace between them and then collaborate to do it whenever there was a feud.
And I think the problem is that a lot of the institutions that we have today, because they have, call it evolved or developed over this century or, almost 2 centuries, there's just been this movement from their original roles into what you would call modern roles, where a lot of the old things disappeared. So they slowly just shifted into something new. And it's the same with governments and all these institutions, whether you're talking about governments or corporations or the judicial system or the police or even the military, they have all sort of lost their original intention.